mantras of our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Our Lord Sri Aurobindo says there is no method in this integral yoga except to concentrate, preferably in the heart, and call the presence and power of the Divine Mother to take up the being and, by the workings of her force, transform the consciousness. With always our love and blessing, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo. Sri Aurobindo's Savitri, Book 4, Canto 2, The Growth of the Flower. A land of mountains and wide sun-beat plains and giant rivers pacing to vast seas. A field of creation and spiritual hush, silence swallowing life's axe into the deeps of thoughts transcendent climb and heavenward lead, a brooding world of reverie and trance, filled with the mightiest works of God and man, where nature seemed a dream of the divine, and beauty and grace and grandeur had their home, harbored the childhood of the incarnate flame.
Rule is that one must abstain from all politics. Not because Sri Aurobindo did not concern himself with the happenings of the world, but because politics, as it is practiced, is a low and ugly thing, wholly dominated by falsehood, deceit, injustice, misuse of power, and violence. Because to succeed in politics, one has to cultivate in oneself hypocrisy, duplicity, and unscrupulous ambition. The indispensable basis of our yoga is sincerity, honesty, unselfishness, disinterested consecration to the work to be done, nobility of character, and straightforwardness. They who do not practice these elementary virtues are not Sri Aurobindo's disciples and have no place in the ashram. That is why I refuse to answer imbecile and groundless accusations against the ashram emanating from perverse and evil-intentioned minds. Sri Aurobindo always loved deeply his motherland, but he wished her to be great, noble, pure, and worthy of her big mission in the world. He refused to let her sink and vulgar level of blind self-interests and ignorant prejudices. This is why, in full conformity to His will, we lift high the standard of truth, progress, and transformation of mankind, without caring for those who, through ignorance, stupidity, envy, or bad will, seek to soil it and drag it down into the mud. We carry it very high, so that all who have a soul may see it and gather around it.
Darshan Day message for 15th August 1947, Sri Aurobindo's birthday. Invocation. Our Divine Mother says, O our Mother, O Soul of India, Mother who has never forsaken thy children, even in the days of darkest depression, even when they turned away from thy voice, served other masters and denied thee. Now, when they have arisen and the light is on thy face, in this dawn of thy liberation, in this great hour, we salute thee. Guide us so that the horizon of freedom opening before us may be also a horizon of true greatness and of thy true life in the community of the nations. Guide us so that we may be always on the side of great ideals and show to men thy true visage as a leader in the ways of the Spirit and a friend and helper of all the people. Words of our Divine Mother taken from a short biography of our Divine Mother. Topic: prosperity. From the book A Short Biography of Our Divine Mother. Page 40. Our Divine Mother says the first rule of integral yoga is that the sadhak must be content what comes to him, much or little. If things are there, he must be able to use them without any attachment or desire. If they are not, he must be indifferent to their absence. The number of sadhaks were growing. 24 disciples have been present during the descent of Overmind on 24th November 1926. By the middle of 1927, there were around 30 disciples staying in 5 houses. In August 1929, more than 85 stayed in 17 houses. Our Divine Mother states, as I am taking care of all this, I can truly say that I am busy. Our Divine Mother started her day early in the morning at about 4 a.m. and about 6 a.m. she came to the terrace of her house with some members of the ashram. Then a sadhak blew a conch to announce her arrival in the meditation room. The pranam would take place for 1 or 2 hours. Thereafter, there were interviews with her which lasted till noon. After this, our Divine Mother personally distributed the dishes to the sadhak in the dining hall. Then She went to Sri Aurobindo's room and finally sat in the prosperity hall with some sadhaks. At times she held meditation. Otherwise, there was a general conversation and she gave some special talks. There were also flower games. The mother had given spiritual meanings to numberless flowers such as realization, purity, faith, surrender, perfection. And at these sessions, she arranged some flowers in a particular way. The sadhaks were then asked to put together the meanings in such a way that they formed a significant sentence. In the following, we give two examples. On 10th of October 1929, our Divine Mother said, "Only to those who have a true humility will power be given." On 14th of October 1929, our Divine Mother says, "Approach the Divine with loving gratitude and you will meet the Divine's love." The sadhak who found the sentence intended by the mother or who came closest to it got some prizes like sweets. The Divine Mother also arranged for other games like balancing a big lemon on the head and other skill games. There was no fixed program. The group followed the inspiration of the moment. The sadhaks experienced the Divine Mother here as a mother among her children, giving them relief from the strict concentration of integral yoga, which is not to say that yoga was not being continued here, but it happened more invisibly, just like playing. A regular item after 1927 was the soup distribution, which was, however, less a ceremony than a deep spiritual exchange between the Divine Mother and the sadhaks. It took place in the late evening at 7 or 8 o'clock. The Divine Mother sat in an armchair with her feet resting on a small stool. She meditated for a while, holding her hands over the container of the soup with the palms pointed downwards, as if she was pouring her force into the liquid. Then the container was moved to her right and she distributed the food with a big spoon to the sadhaks, who kneeled down before her one after another and offered her their cup. Sometimes a Divine Mother fell into a trance during the distribution and the respective sadhak waited for a while until his cup was filled by the Divine Mother. As for Sri Aurobindo explained, the soup was a means by which the sadhak might receive something from the Divine Mother by an interchange in the material consciousness. In his report about it, K.D. Sadhana has captured something of the mystical atmosphere which prevailed during the soup distribution. It was a very important function every evening. It impressed me like a snatch of the ancient mysteries. The atmosphere was as in some secret temple of Egyptian or Greek times. Since 1927, the first day of the month has been the Prosperity Day. On this day, the Mother, our Divine Mother, gave to the sadhaks their monthly needs and requirements. The disciples could make their request in advance on a chit. Some of them often asked only for the mother's blessings, while others made a long list of their requirements. In both the cases, the requests were fulfilled. In 1930, there was pranam on 5 days in a week, and the other 2 days flowers were distributed at soup time. Many sadhaks gathered now in the morning on the pavement facing the mother's balcony in order to catch a glimpse of her. As a rule, she was expected at 6:15 a.m., but often her coming was delayed. Even then, a few sadhaks kept waiting until she appeared. This developed into a regular balcony darshan, which continued for 30 years to come. In the following quotation, the Divine Mother explains what she was doing for the disciples during the darshan. Our Divine Mother says, every morning at the balcony, after establishing a conscious contact with each of those who are present, I identify myself with the Supreme Lord and merge myself completely in Him. Then my body, completely passive, is nothing but a channel through which the Lord passes freely His forces and pours on all His light, His consciousness, and His joy according to each one's receptivity. Moreover, there were 3 special darshan days: 21st Feb, August 15th and 24th November, the day of the descent of the overmind. 24th April, our Divine Mother's final arrival in Pondicherry was added. The darshan began at 6:30 a.m. and lasted until 2 p.m. It took place in a small room to the southeast of Sri Aurobindo's room, and every sadhak or visitor was given 1.5 minutes time to spend in the presence of the 2 avatars. This arrangement remained unchanged until 1938, when our Lord Sri Aurobindo suffered a fracture of the right thigh bone and could not come for the November darshan. Afterwards, the number of sadhaks and visitors increased so much that this kind of individual darshan was not possible anymore, and so they passed before Sri Aurobindo and the Mother in a long line to shorten the procedure. Darshan should not be considered, says our Divine Mother, as a mere ceremony of reverence towards the Guru. The proper purpose was to enable the disciples to share their respective inner advance and achievement of the Master and to transfer something of it on them. The Divine Mother stated in this context, in the days when Sri Aurobindo used to give darshan, before he gave it, there was always a concentration of certain forces or of a certain realization which he wanted to give people. And so each darshan marked a stage forward. Each time something was added, but that was at a time when the number of visitors were very limited. We may assume that this purpose of a transfer of spiritual force remained the same even in later times, but it did not take place anymore in the same intensive and concrete form. Next topic, Sadhana. Our Divine Mother says the ashram was formed with the object of providing a suitable background for the sadhana, the spiritual discipline of the seekers. Even at young age, the Divine Mother has conceived the idea there should be a place where seekers of God should completely dedicate themselves to the spiritual life without any material worries and problems. Such a place was taking shape now, and the Divine Mother supervised its development in all details, while Sri Aurobindo was opening a path towards supermind, which should eventually be within the reach for all sadhaks. The aim which he had set himself went far beyond the traditional aim of moksha, spiritual liberation of the aspirant. Our Divine Mother explains in the following statement the rationale of integral sadhana. Our Divine Mother says, Sri Aurobindo's sadhana starts where others end. Once the union with the Supreme is realized, one must bring down that realization to the external world and change the conditions of life upon earth until a total transformation is accomplished. In accordance with this aim, the sadhaks of the integral yoga do not retire from the world to lead a life of contemplation and meditation. Each one must develop at least 1/3 of his time to a useful work. All activities are represented in the ashram, and each one chooses the work most congenial to his nature, but must do it with a spirit of service and unselfishness, keeping always in view of the aim of integral transformation. The sadhaks were called upon to open entirely to the divine force and to participate as far as possible in the inner advance of the two avatars. In the early years, there was a rather strict discipline. Family relations between sadhaks were largely excluded. Everyone was left to himself and stood alone before the divine. The mother herself conducted the sadhana of the disciples as long as their number was limited. We began with 35, 36, but even till 150, it was so like they were as though held in an eggshell in my consciousness, says our Divine Mother, so close, that I could direct all movements, both inner and outer, all the time. Everything was under complete control at every moment, day and night. And naturally, I believe in those days they made some progress. It was altogether true that I did the sadhana for them all the time. Later on, when the number of disciples had grown considerably, where children were brought into the ashram in the course of the Second World War, we made many changes and there was a wider framework. The Divine Mother explained that this widening of the radius of life was necessary since life as such was to be transformed in all its fullness with all its manifestation. Basically, the sadhana of integral yoga proceeds in three steps: psychic, spiritual, and supramental transformation. The principal means are surrender to the divine and intense aspiration. If these two conditions are fulfilled by the sadhak, the divine answers with the descent of a supreme force and grace from above, which alone can effect the transformation. Psychic transformation is the first preparatory and indispensable step. It brings with it a decisive turning of the entire being towards the divine and elimination of all elements in nature which are crude and obscure, and an organization of all the parts of the being, the physical, vital, and mental, around the psychic. The psychic being is the soul in evolution, which is ever again taking birth in new bodies and assimilating the essence of all experiences. It grows slowly in the course of its human incarnations until it finally emerges and directs the nature of man towards his divine origin. It is like a silver thread running through all births, the one constant factor, but not to be confused with the Atman, the self which is ever the same and unchanging, and of which the psychic being is a delegate in the world of evolution. It exists only in living beings on earth, which is, as it were, a focus point of evolution in the universe. Sri Aurobindo has given elaborate explanations on the psychic being in his writings. It is one of the specific discoveries of the two avatars and their great merit to have brought at last clarity into the terms of self and soul. Along with the psychic transformation, when it has reached an advanced stage, the spiritual transformation begins, which brings a descent of light, joy, force, and truth into the whole being of man, which gets now irrevocably established in the divine and the infinite. Only after this transformation has been completed or nearly completed can the supramental transformation take over, in the course of which the entire nature of man gets transformed and divinized up to the very cells of the body. A new being is formed, which Sri Aurobindo called Superman, a term which has nothing in common with the popular idea of the superhero of comics. Sri Aurobindo's Superman is a cosmic being in close touch with all life in the universe and conscious of the oneness of all existence. He is a dynamic sinner of the divine on earth. He acts free from ego, in harmony with the universal laws. He is a channel for the divine love, for light and truth on earth. In a higher stage of development, even his body is included in the process of transformation, starting with a change of the physical functions and then the very cells of the body. Occasionally, a distinction is made between Superman and the supramental being. Whilst the former represents, so as to say, the utmost that can be made out of man in the process of transformation, the supramental being is already a member of a higher species originating from a more elevated plane than human beings. It already has a higher, more plastic body which is not subject to the laws of ordinary morality, formed as it were from materialized spiritual stuff. This is the ideal, the distant aim. Generally speaking, we may say that for most seekers, only the first two stages of transformation are immediately relevant, even though supermind is like a distant sun, may have some indirect impact on our being and prepare it for a future realization. To organize all parts of the being around the psychic and keep it always in the forefront is in itself a considerable task, to whose necessity the Divine Mother refers again and again in her talks. She often helps sadhaks or devotees through her intervention to re-establish the lost contact with the inner center and to make it prevail against depression, doubt and desire. Sri Aurobindo has pointed out that psychic opening is truly the real key for a successful sadhana in integral yoga. By remaining psychically open to the Divine Mother, all that is necessary for work or sadhana develops progressively. That is one of the chief secrets, the central secret of sadhana. It is only those who are capable by aspiration and meditation on the Mother to open and receive her action and working within that can succeed in this integral yoga, says our Lord Sri Aurobindo.